into today's session where we'll try to unpick markets, find out what's going on, of course. We'll see if we can see a chart or two that looks worthy to keep an eye on over the next hours and days, potentially, I suppose. Could be an interesting week ahead. Let's get into it, but as we do, just to remind you that we need to make sure that you know this is for educational purposes only. Please make sure that you do your own due diligence on anything that you see here. Make sure, of course, you follow trading plans and manage risk on every trading action. That includes on entry and exit and consistent with your own personal trading objectives and financial situation. Just let me know. Always good that you can hear well. Hi, Roger. Good day to Wayne. Good to see you here, guys. Right. Let's get into the news of the day, shall we first? And then we'll have a look at some charts. So, if we just wind the clock back a little bit to Friday, markets were higher again. Really, it's great earnings that are driving this. 81% have beaten EPS expectations. 81% also have beaten revenue expectations. That is probably the best earnings season I can remember in recent years, for sure. And there's generally perceived progress on trade. The Nasdaq ended up hitting new highs on Friday. The S&P 500 was not far behind, within a whisker of doing so. Again, as I said, we'll have a look at charts in a moment. Few things going on the trade front. The Chinese deadline on its original pause is over. So tomorrow's going to be an interesting point in time as to what happens next. Generally speaking, the market are expecting a potentially another pause, possibly a couple of little tweaks going on. There's also some big data, the continuation of earnings season, all for markets to digest. And we'll talk about some of that data in a moment or two. US futures are slightly higher in Asia so far today. We've seen Asian markets follow through on that, with the ASX up around 0.3%. Of course, the Nikkei is closed for a holiday. European markets are pointing to a cautiously positive open also at this stage. We move on to the FX market. The US dollar index dropped throughout last week, but paused on Friday. A little bit of a tick up, which saw gold pull back into the range. It looked as though it was setting up on Thursday for a potential another test of record highs, but did pull back. Again, we can have a look at the charts. A couple of charts looking interesting. We had that major drop week before last after the 50% tariff on US imports came into effect. Actually, just before that, not surprisingly. But we are, after a week last week of essentially pausing, showing some signs of buyers coming back in. Oil not replicating that in any way, shape, or form, dropped every day last week after that OPEC Plus suggested a production hike in September. Looking shy again today, unfortunately. Oil is looking very bearish and is testing the next key support level again. We'll have a look at a chart. Whereas Bitcoin is re-challenging record highs in Asia today. When last I looked, it was actually above the record close, but we'll check out that in a moment for the latest. Quite a day today, not a lot going on, but that ramps up tomorrow. We've got an RBA rate decision. Those are part of the TIQ set scene. We'll run a session on that maybe. US CPI is also tomorrow, and so we're going to keep an eye on that. Now, it's not so much the September rate cut is almost certainly priced in after that really weak non-farm payrolls data, around about 95% likelihood of a rate cut in the US. It's really going to dictate what the degree of telegraphing that the Fed chairman is in a position to do so for the rest of 2025. So that's really the implication for tomorrow, rather than impact on September, I would suspect, unless it's wildly high. Other data to watch, keep an eye on the UK GDP, US retail sales and US weekly jobs later in the week can also be important. G'day to James. Hi, Sonia. And Lita. Thank you to you all for saying hello. It's always really appreciated. So that all been said, let's just see what we can find. Um, let's see if we can pull up some data for you. If we're playing, I think we might be. Yes, we can. So I popped up the data there. You can see um, I fast forwarded on that to Friday, just to show you that the end of the week is that retail sales. I think that's a really important number. It usually is perceived as being such, but I think this week it could have um, extra importance. If we go to tomorrow, there's the expectation that a 0.25% rate cut is in play at 2:30 Eastern Time tomorrow from the RBA, and the US CPI is expected to actually not drop at all. But as long as it doesn't pop up too much, it'll be sort of okay, I think. And then we've got, as I said, on later in the week, we've got UK GDP as well. That's all really interesting. A quick look at FactSet, just to show you the latest. So 90%, sorry, not 75%, 90% have reported. Retailers are the major sector still to report. And there's that 81%, 81%. 11.8 is a very, very positive earnings growth. That's increased week on week. So that is interesting. I'm going to try and just put this into YouTube for you guys as we just flip to charts. There we go. And then if I just, it's really a little more difficult to do, but if that is new to you, there's the link to go and check out US earnings in a bit more detail to see what's outperformed, etc. So, right, let's dive into some charts, shall we? Okay, so here's the Nasdaq, and you can see there the Nasdaq record close on Friday on the futures, also reflected in the index as a whole, and slightly positive in today's trading so far. Um, we said 23,500 was a key level, just to keep an eye on it. Breached that there on Friday. Um, quite remarkable. But as I said, earnings are driving this. Tech earnings are going really well. US dollar really hasn't done well since that non-farm payrolls number came out. That was that candle there. Um, pulling back down. You can see that slight tick up on Friday. That created a little bit of a ripple to the downside in gold, but you can see there we got through 3,400 before dropping down again back into this sort of range between 3,300 and 3,360. It has actually tested 3,360 in today's trading. I think this is an important level to keep an eye on to the downside. Long wicks here suggest that selling isn't convincing, that perhaps this move to the downside that we've seen since open isn't going to go much longer. But we shall see what happens next, of course. If we look at copper, you can see there that little candle there on Friday that sort of said, hey, look, we're done with the selling. Maybe there's an opportunity to hit to the downside. Really strong session. Considering where it had been, a bit flat in Asia today, you can see there. But what we have got is got a line in the sand here at around about 448 to say that this is a level of interest. I referenced oil's demise. You can see there 5 straight days of losses last week, but you can extend that to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight days of losses if you include today. This level here that we're trading at now, around about 63.71, is a level that looks really important technically. If you look back here, it was resistance here and here. And then Bitcoin, and as I said, we're storming through that 120,000 mark, which was the record high. We intraday high of let's just check 123,268 on the 14th of July. I think that's possibly the next point at which we may see a pause. But the buyers are just storming in today. You can see in Asia, particularly over the last couple of hours, We're getting a major run up to the upside, currently sitting at 121,700. Um, yeah, the buyers are most certainly in. Um, and yeah, right, on to some FX crosses. So certainly Bitcoin looks interesting. The Nasdaq looks interesting today so far. Here's the US yen stuck in this range here, really beneath 147.89. That's the level to look out for on the daily chart. That's also the 200 MA. So if we look at an hourly chart, it doesn't look as though it's got much direction going on. A bit bouncy in today's session so far. So see how we go with that. If we look at the euro, which has been strong of late, hang on a second. 172.25 looks like the level of interest there. If we look here at 96.30 on the Aussie yen, and that looks as though it could be of note. Possible move up to 96.30. Sorry, 96.50 on that. I'm just looking to see if that might be worth a nudge. I would be waiting. That 96.50 looks like an interesting level. Um, and one worth keeping an eye on, perhaps. Let's just see if there's anything else of note. Jimmy Pound Kiwi looks interesting as well. You can see here that we're sort of testing this level here at essentially 226. A breach of that could be interesting. I actually quite like this. 226.45. So we've got about a 40 to 45 pip move to the upside. If we look at the hourly chart, you might just push that up a little to 226 and 6 or 7. That looks like a good place to potentially get in. Take out the highs from the last month. So this would be highs not seen since July 2022. Sorry, that's not right. July the 22nd. Um, so a move up, that looks like a fairly high probability move actually if it reaches that. I'm going to make that my chart of the day. Looking at the half hour, you can see that this is a retest. We actually gapped to the downside before popping back up again. So um, that looks pretty strong. That's my chart of the day for FX. On to the ASX. LYC just continues to shoot higher. The rare earths place is a good place to be. We've been calling this as a chart of the day for some considerable time now, really ever since we had a breach of this level around about 945. So that looks continually interesting. Megaport was one we'll keep an eye on, but you can see that's pulled back. 360 ASX also pulled back. We'll put both those on the to file pile, I think, for right now. Just let's Lion Town. My guess is that these guys have reported because that's an astounding move to the upside. Over 18% today. We're calling Liontown last week on this bounce, but it's testing $1 today. PLS Minerals or PLS Mineral Resources, IGO, all of these are lithium stocks and all flying. I'm going to have to do some digging on this. Just going to have a quick look around and see what's driving lithium prices this morning. Okay, so I didn't recent price. So we've got an extension, or we've got a report that reports that Chinese EV demand has gone up. Yeah, this really sort of came to. I'm hoping I can bring this up. Um, Sorry, yeah, you can't see this yet. I'm just having a look at it, and then I'm going to see if I can bring it up for you. Yeah, okay, let's try that, please. Nope. Okay, it's not going to come up. Okay, so lithium prices have really surged since the back end of um, of July, but over the weekend it surged even more. This is just a significant move. I'm going to give you a link, actually, since I can't show you. Go and check out our lithium chart for yourself and some major. There we go. Right, and I'll claim the screen back since it's not going to play. Right, there you go. So I put a link into chat there, which go and check that out. There's a lithium chart, which is you'll see the surge in lithium price, and that really is what's driven lithium prices. So that's Liontown pushing up against the dollar. If we look at PLS, which is another one we were tracking last week, that's up 14% today. Mineral resources up at an astounding 12%, and you can see here that we've got this level of interest at 37.96, let's say 38, push through there. And Vulcan Energy also up in excess of 8%. I quite like Vulcan Energy actually, but there also is a key level of interest. I like Liontown over $1. I've got to be honest. Um, so Liontown technically PLS fundamentally, I think is a better stock. Mining services also doing well. If we look at Parenti Limited, there's a big surge to the upside over the last week. I'll make PLS and Parenti my two charts of the day for today. Popping into the US, not surprising. Nvidia finally breaches out of this range. It's been trading in now at 180, 144, heading potentially up to $200 possibly. Micron, really nice move on Friday. Back through that resistance, looks like 124s on the cards. And Tesla are challenging this 330 level that we've talked about time and time again. There's 330. Uh, oh, to date, there we go. So next port of call on this 347. That's the level. Let's call it 350 on Tesla. So chart of the day, Tesla and Nvidia on the US. No surprise there, really. Okay, well, look, sorry I couldn't get at that lithium info up. It's just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Um, so apologies for that. But you've got some things to go away and have a look at. So I hope that's been useful and interesting. Thank you to those of you who are able to make it today. And um, we shall see you now. Just a quick heads up. The next session will be on Wednesday, not Thursday, because obviously I'm in mid-flight. When it's due to, actually, I won't be in mid-flight, but I'll probably be making just landing in Melbourne. For those of you who are Melbourne based, Would love to see you on Thursday if you're around and about. So thanks very much, Shane. Cheers, Roger. You guys have a great Wednesday. Thank you, Wayne. Um, Great Monday, actually. I'm running ahead of myself a little bit there. So we'll see you soon. And I'll live and leave you. Bye bye for now.